Alright, doing a little video recap of the race I just did. So I just did my first half marathon, the Lake Minnetonka half marathon. Run from Wayzata to Excelsior. It's mostly, you start out running west and then south for a long ways and then finish with a little bit east into Excelsior. And I heard this course was hilly, but from some people I also heard that it was hilly but not that hilly. And from some people I heard it was really bad. You see the race going on behind me still is there about the 2:30 finishers. So coming into this, my goal was originally to break 1:30 because that's just a good benchmark for above average, I guess, amateur road racer. And a lot of the guys I train with are around that. So I was shooting to break 1:30, but going into it, no excuses, but training just didn't go quite as good as I had planned. Mostly my fault with the late winter and the big snowstorm a couple weeks ago. I was just like, I don't want to run in this. But I knew 1:30 would be a steep goal all along. And I was starting to think like a week and a half ago, maybe like 7:05 pace would be a better goal, which would be sub 1:33. And I did a couple of workouts this last week, and I was like, yeah, 7:05s, that'd be a good goal, which would be sub 1:33 pace. 6:51s would be sub 1:30 pace. And so looking at the course elevation map, the elevation chart for this race, didn't look too bad. A lot of ups and downs, but not big ones. But I did see that the biggest incline was in the first mile, and I have a tendency of going out hard and too quick at the beginning of a race. But they say for a longer race, like a half or even like a 10K, anything above a 10K for sure, a negative split approach is better. So running your second half quicker is the way to maximize your ability to go as fast as you can. So my goal was to negative split and go quicker in the second half. My first mile, I was shooting not to go out faster than 7 for sure, and hopefully 7:05. I knew right away that 1:30, because there's a pace group guy for 1:30, that was always the question. Anyway, my first mile was 7, I think it was 7:10. And then I made like a 6:57 for my second mile, which was net downhill. And pretty much at the beginning, there was like 3 guys, or I think they were all guys that I was kind of running with, and I let them get away from me in the first 3-4 miles, just let them go. But I kept them in sight, and my goal was kind of like to catch those guys by the end, because I was hoping to pick it up in the last 3, 4, 5, even 6 miles. And there was definitely one of them I never passed again, and one of them I think I did pass. And the third one I can't remember what he looked like or who he was. But I was running there. I would say this course was pretty hilly. Hold on one second, I'm gonna check my splits here. So I was running pretty good, and I kept checking my watch for each mile to check my pace, and weather was good. It ended up being about 5 degrees warmer than it said it was going to be, but the starting temperature was about 51 and the finishing temperature was about 56, which was probably about 3 or 4 degrees warmer than ideal. Wind was light, but for the most part it was a slight tailwind or a crosswind for the race, not much of a headwind. It was around 8-9 miles an hour. I was warm during the race, but not hot. And so in the second half, I was trying to pick it up, and I don't know what my half split was, but I think I ran about 7:07 averages for my first half, and my average overall was 7:05s, which would have put me under 1:33, but my watch said that the course was long. It said it was about 50-60 meters longer than what it should have been. So I think I was a little bit over 1:33, about 1:33.15 I think. But I haven't seen an official time yet. And the course was accurate. GPS watches just aren't always spot on. The course is a USATF certified course. But in the last half, I was trying to really kick it up. And I kind of quit looking at my watch for a while and just ran off of feel. And then I was like, oh yeah, I forgot to check my splits. But miles 6, 7, and 8 were all 7:04s, exactly the same, 7:04s. But then I ran a 7:19. And at this point, I was trying to catch I was kind of in a slight no man's land. Like there were people around me, but not like super close around me. Maybe not anyone that was like drafting off of or anything. And my goal each mile after the first half was just catch that person in front of me, catch that person in front of me. So each mile I was trying to catch somebody. And I was trying to catch this girl in mile 8, and I was catching her slowly, but she was dying, and then I ran too slow. I was dying too, and I ran like I was at 7:30 pace for a while for that mile, and I ended up kicking it up and running the 7:19. I was like, fuck, I'm done. And then I felt like I had to poop too, and I was like, oh, I don't know if I should just poop in my pants or stop somewhere. And I had this goo, so energy gel with caffeine in it and carbs and a little sugar. It's just this little gel packet you take, and I didn't want to take it because I thought it might make me poop, but I was like, I gotta try it because I'm only running like 7:30s, and it must have helped because I took it. And I mean, it might have been a little bit psychological, but I definitely think it helped, because then after that 7:19, I was really trying to kick it back up, and I ran 7:03, 7:02, 7:07, 7:01 for my last 4 miles, and it was hard. It was very hard. So in each mile I was trying to pass someone, and then mile 12, so 11 to 12, I was trying to catch up to this girl. And actually I can't remember too well, but I know in the last mile I was trying to catch this girl. And then there was this guy in a dark blue shirt that I passed around maybe just before mile 12. And I thought, okay, yeah, he's struggling pretty good. There's no way I'm not going to pass him because it'll slow me down if I should try to follow him. He's not going that quick. But then with between mile 12 and 13, probably around 12 and a half, he passed me again. And then probably close to around the same time, there's this guy in the orange that passed me at a fairly decent clip. Then there was the girl I was still trying to catch. That was my goal to catch for that last mile. And I started out just trying to go that last mile as quick as I could, and I was running a 6:56 for a long time, and then I slowed down. Ended up being a 7:01. But that was a nice flat mile, super flat on a limestone paved trail, and I ended up passing that girl. And then I don't remember exactly where I passed the guy in the blue again, but I mean, he passed me. I obviously thought, oh yeah, I can beat this guy, but he didn't have it in him, and I passed him probably in the last quarter of a mile or so. And I was dying that last mile. I was like, okay, only half a mile left, and I was like, oh man, I just can't wait for it to be over. I'm just dying. And then that guy in the orange that passed me a decent clip got about maybe 5-10 meters ahead of me, probably 10 meters at least, but he wasn't gaining anymore. So then coming around the home stretch, which is just where I am now behind me, he was the only one left in front of me, and no one else was threatening me. And I don't even really know where he came from, because I was trying not to look behind me really at all. But when he came up, I was like, oh, this guy, because I was catching people, I was like, oh, he must be catching people too. But then in that last 150, 200 meters, I caught up to him, and even though I was dying, I still had a kick at the end. Because when you sprint at the end of a race, you're using different muscle fibers that you haven't used yet. So you're using your fast twitch muscle fibers, which for me, my fast twitch muscle fibers were fresh since I'd been using my slow twitch muscle fibers for the distance race. And since I have good speed for a distance runner, I'm no sprinter anymore by any means, but for a distance runner of my caliber, I have very good speed, I would say. So as long as you're not all the oxygen and you're still breathing okay, and as long as you're not just totally drained of carbs, all your fuel sources are gone, you're gonna have something left in you to kick at the end. Maybe not a lot, but a little bit at least. And so I kicked and I caught him, and then I didn't want to go too quick until I could see the finish line, because we turned around this corner, and then I could see the finish line, and it was around that time that I passed him. And then I played it smart because I could tell he tried to respond, but I was going pretty good, and I got a second on him or whatever. And then I could see over the corner. I didn't want to kick it too hard too quick and die and have him catch me, and there was no one else in front of me that I could have caught at that point either. But 100 meters to go, maybe 80 meters, 70, 80 meters to go, I slowed down just a little bit, not really slowed down even, just quit putting the gas on, maybe slowed down slightly, let him catch up to my shoulder, and then once he caught to my shoulder, I unleashed my second kick, and then I looked and he wasn't responding. So that was a smart move on my part, I think. Whipped past him, as he starts to respond, just slow down a little bit, save something, so when he catches me again, boom, he's done. And then I stopped my watch. I think that I didn't stop it right away. I tried to stop it right away, but I pushed the wrong button. And I think I ran a 33, or around a 133.15, which on this course with the hills, I'm very happy with that. It's my first half, so either way, a PR. And legs feel good now. I probably feel like shit tomorrow. Great day. Slept about 4.5 hours last night at the max. And then, let me think, what else was I gonna say? Halves are brutal, man. Hills, I hate those hills. I need to pick a flatter one next time, but probably won't get this good of weather for a while now. But I'm very glad that it's not freezing anymore and there's no snow anymore. Let's think. I was gonna say something else about the kick. Good kick. I don't know what place I got, but I saw if I ran around 133, I'd be in the top 100 of the 2000. And I actually ran the same exact pace on my watch. It's probably a second slower per their time, as Matt Castle did last year. And Matt Castle is one of the most, for me personally, he's the most improved adult male runner that I know in the last year. He only ran a 133 or so here last year. And now, for twice the distance, a full marathon, he's gonna break 3 hours in 2 weeks. So his full marathon time last year was like 3:30 or some shit. Now he's about to run like 2:56, I would say. That's not what I was gonna say though. Something about the kick at the end. I can't remember, but anyway, good race. Long recap here. I'll post results later. Thanks for watching this if you took the time. All right, see you guys.